Wherever you are in the world, welcome back to part two of my special Jerry's Take on China, answering two questions. Part one was related to my own views on the upcoming Taiwan election, but here are some comments about border disputes within India or around India. Please, as always, like and share. My viewer numbers are increasing constantly, and that's thanks to your efforts to share my takes on what's going on, mostly in and around China, so thank you. The border dispute with India is very interesting to me. There's a lot more than just rocks, desert and mountains there. There are minerals and there's water. The source of the dispute is a line drawn in 1914 by the British and handed over to India in 1947 when the colonialists left. Bear in mind, they left with a disaster. At least 1 million people died and more than 15 million were displaced by lines drawn by British cartographers. So we do know that the Brits weren't very thoughtful about where they drew their lines or borders. There are still disputes inside India and Pakistan going on because of these lines. Kashmir is one, Punjab is another, and the other, Bangladesh, needed a civil war to get independence from Pakistan in what must be the most ridiculous and mind-boggling British decision, where they created one country called Pakistan, divided it into two parts separated by 1,000 miles of India. The British, whether it was deliberate or negligent, have done the Indo-China region no favors at all, and the 1914 McMahon Line was no exception. For this reason, I think a joint economic decision that transcends politics would be what I would aim for. Create a region in the same way that the special administrative zones or regions were created to allow opening to the world. Have both Indian and Chinese laws operable in a hybrid way and exploit the water and other resources in a way that's beneficial to both countries. This may seem strange, but China has a precedent. In 3 different regions in Guangdong, Hengqin, Qianhai, and Nansha, those regions have international finance, IP protection, health laws, and they are all in the mainland, but they have dual recognition of qualifications and skills to allow people living and working there to operate as if they're in Hong Kong or Macau. Trade through there goes through one custom check and leaves China through Hong Kong or Macau paperwork without being slowed down by a secondary check. Passengers transiting from Macau into Hengqin can be single-checked. They don't leave Macau and enter China. They do both at the same checkpoint. There were many reports in Western media, gleefully, I think, suggesting that Hong Kong was suffering from a reduction in trade because the shipping figures from the special administrative region were down. And that was true. But at the same time, there was an increase in the financial value of the trade, which the reports kind of forgot to mention. This is because a new, fully automated, intermodal port in Nansha was opened, and much of the trade normally leaving Hong Kong left through Nansha as part of this deep cooperation. Hong Kong economy isn't suffering, it's getting much more efficient, and it's able to transit products straight out of the mainland on Hong Kong paperwork. Many would argue that this is a system that only exists internally, as both Hong Kong and Macau are parts of China, but until 97 and 99 respectively, they were not. They were completely different legislative and administrative colonies of another sovereign nation. They are now still completely different legislative and administrative entities under what's known as one country, two systems. And it works. It's a most unusual but internationally acceptable process. Even I, as a foreigner, can go to Hengqin and officially enter Macau without going through the process of leaving China and then the additional process of entering Macau. I can't do that through other border checkpoints. If I go to Gong Bei to cross into Macau, I need to check out of China and then check into Macau. The same applies to Lohu if I want to go to Hong Kong. But through these cooperation zones of Qianhai and Hengqin, it's much easier. A system such as this, with India and China cooperating, could become known as two countries, one system. And it would require a lot of agreements between India and China, but it's been suggested that perhaps Putin could be the negotiator of it. And there's a lot to be said for that. Both India and China have good relationships with Russia, and if an agreement such as this could be handled without rancor, then it's likely it would lead to even greater cooperation. Other countries in the region, such as Nepal, Bhutan, and even Bangladesh, could benefit from the stability in the region, particularly if train lines or roads are built into and through what is currently disputed territory. It would also boost tourism from both major countries, thereby helping with poverty alleviation too. An arrangement such as this would boost trade, boost tourism, boost the relationships and the economy of both countries, but more especially, it would lift that region from impoverishment. And most important of all, without outside interference, it would work. That's my thoughts on the border disputes with India, and I hope you enjoyed this two-part series. I'll see you again next time. Thanks very much for watching Jerry's Take on China. Bye for now.